I'm going to read the opening of a story I'm working on called Shuffle. Here is Amber in the 7th period. She's got a clipper cut up the sidewall and 2 ombre-tinted top knobs, blonde under black. A tiny dagger-shaped needle pierces the ear conch. A bralette is visible beneath a loose-fitting tee. She's kitted out in a slew of curb chains, symmetrical ear studs, and rings on 8 out of 10 fingers. Below the drawstring Vodi shorts, snow-white leggings, and beneath these, slave sandals on feet as small as a concubine. When she isn't talking, she's fretting hems, tugging the low-slung tee, hiking bangles and O-rings. Her skin has the bloodless translucence of curtains caught in the sun. Under ultraviolet light, her veins might run the color of Mountain Dew. Amber is 14. Behind her, the 3rd graders have been studying civilizations, and now the casual cruelties of centuries are graphed out in cobwebs of neon yarn. At the lab table, Amber sits between Crystal McCormick and Mindy Kurzweil. These are her girls. They call themselves the Thotties, those hoes over there. Sherry Ireland is holding up the baby cost calculator. She is the BART director. Be a responsible teen. There are other girls in the class, but Sherry concentrates on the alphas. Next to Sherry, normal baby reclines in a bouncy chair. The baby is startlingly realistic, with big hopeful eyes and skin that triangulates Caucasian and Hispanic. So you're thinking of going to a movie, Sherry says. But diapers and food, what about these expenses? And who's going to look after the baby while you're at the movies? So basic, Amber says. Basic like fundamental, Sherry asks. Basic like not happening, Amber says. Sherry ignores this. This is a time of transition, girls. Your bodies are changing. Soon you will face choices and consequences. Things can happen that will change your life forever. Do you want that? Amber, like it or not, your body is going through profound change. Color me delirious, Amber says, swatting the word delirious, letting it wobble in the air. What about you other girls? Sherry asks Mindy and Crystal. Mindy and Crystal shrug, chew gum, watch Amber for signs. But Amber is studying Sherry closely now. Something is wrong. Sherry isn't reacting the way she normally does. Okay, girls, let's consider the consequences if this were your infant. Sherry picks up normal baby, toggling a switch on its back. At first, nothing happens, but then the jaw ticks open and the baby begins its battle howl. Since only the strongest screamers survive, the sound of an infant's agony is meant to induce maximum distress. Neurologists have described the effect as a bonfire in the brain. It's acid thrown on the auditory nerves. The girls are rioting, shouting, "Make it stop!" All except Amber, who alone remains unmoved, her face impassive. Amber has gone somewhere else, someplace where there's protection from the shriller registers of the human voice. Sherry shuts the doll down. The Think About a Baby program, she says, is designed to give you young women like you a better idea of what it might be like to actually become a mother. So each weekend, one of you girls will take this baby home. And what you need to know, because it will affect your grade, is that this simulator monitors whether you feed or change the baby or whether you pick it up or soothe it. The girls are stunned. Sherry continues, and for the first week, we're going to go alphabetically by first name. With scarcely concealed satisfaction, she offers Amber her baby, and for once, the girl is silent. Now, to understand how Amber became the first recipient of Normal Baby, we're going to need to check in on a sales presentation that took place in the SPED Center 8 hours earlier. The sales rep is there looking maternally proprietary, as if she just produced these quadruplets. She is upsized, Sherry thinks, since her last visit. She seems water-filled, moving as if in compensation for some inner buoyancy. She's wearing a dress with upholstery stripes, and her watch, no bigger than a lentil, garrots her wrist flesh. The assistant principal's also been invited since questions of anatomical accuracy in human reproduction tend to bring out the torches and pitchforks at Board of Ed meetings. Freaky, the assistant principal says, leaning in for a closer inspection. I know, the sales rep says. Huge improvements, right? Now they come with a black box like an aeroplane. We're a long way from bags of sugar, Sherry says. Just how frequently do they cry? The assistant principal wants to know. The sales rep peels the skin flap, pointing at the switch. Different settings, normal, cranky, or colic. Normal baby will cry about every 45 minutes. Cranky is 8 or 9 minutes. And you know colicky babies, they never stop. The last setting is shuffle, like on your music device, alternates between all three. We lock the setting before we give it to the girls. The skin, Sherry whispers. Same rubberized skin as American Girl, the sales rep beams. They're different, right? Assistant principal asks. The sales rep hoists the second baby. Fetal alcohol baby has a smaller head circumference. See how the ears are slightly deformed? As she's talking, she hits her groove, the PowerPoint floating in just when she needs it, giving her delivery a spontaneous feel. She puts down the second baby, lifting the third. Substance abuse baby, you can see, has this pained expression. That's withdrawals. What the girls will learn is that substance abuse baby doesn't respond to being comforted. She is what you would call inconsolable. Sherry and the assistant principal have cocked their chairs to avoid having to face the fourth baby. The sales rep, who visits a different school every morning, sees this all the time. The fourth baby sits at the end of the row, an outcast. Sherry girds herself to look, holding herself with her arms. The sales rep is about to say something, but stops, all eyes on the last child. The cranium of the head-shaking baby is see-through. It's a dome that consists of transparent acrylic that resembles an ice sculpture. Visible beneath the plastic blister lies the brain, the gray-brown worm coils and its line of LEDs strung like party lanterns to show where the damage would occur. There is a memorializing silence, and then, like pilot fish, they turn away. They cannot be blamed. No one wants to be reminded of the versatility with which the innocent are made to suffer. When Sherry speaks again, her voice is hoarse. I know it's unorthodox, she says, but do you think we could borrow one? It would help with the committee. The sales rep relaxes. Easy peasy, she says. We have these babies coming out of our ears. You may have heard about the huge pre-order from that Pizza Town billionaire. This summer, I think he intends to flood the inner city. A 16-ounce and a large pie, and you can take one home. You know how it happens. Sherry and the assistant principal don't feel comfortable with giving Amber the baby until they have the blessing of the school's guidance counselor. In a district where a couple of Dominican twins check diversity, Ronnie Gray is an anomaly. She's black, large, and did 2 deploys with the Marines. But it's the action she saw in Basra that cows the more oppositionally defiant Wiggers, those mechanized big boys who patrol the hallways in all that armored plating. A cricket bat is mounted high on the wall behind her desk. We all know it's the parents' divorce, Ronnie says, but that girl is a ticking bomb. If Mom wasn't Barbara Blame, we wouldn't hesitate. Still, I'm tracking her with, she consults a grid on her laptop, 2 class removals, 2 out of areas, Vogue smoking behind the greenhouse, and most recently Tilson claiming tequila on her breath. So I'm gonna greenlight. But CYA people, we're gonna need a robust E-trail, because with Blame, expect trouble. Chemical car wash streams from the flanks of the Suburban as it slides into the pickup zone. The obsidian metal flake is all but impenetrable, except for the opal glow of a cell phone screen and the silhouette of a face above it. Even before the car stops, stiletto nails are needling the screen. The door locks detonate, and then the rear cabin door is unsealed. Amber humps in her Kipling backpack, climbing in behind it. Barbara Lane Dubreeze continues to jab the screen with a practiced fury. Pumpkin, she says, without looking, why don't you join Mama in the front seat? Pumpkin will remain in the back, Amber says. With a whimpering mule issues from the Kipling, Barbara whips around. What was that? Is that a kitten? I told you, if that is a frigging kitten. But Normal Baby is only warming up, and now in earnest it begins its caterwaul, a high keening shriek, a high cresting wail that plunges into anguished sobs, the volume oscillating violently. Yanking zippers, Amber wrestles the baby out of the Kipling. The sound is everywhere, squeezing the brain, dumping hormones in the blood, hormones you can't take back. But when the baby's head emerged, Barbara is shrieking, what is that? It's a baby, Mom, it's my homework. Just stop it, Barbara screams. I'm trying, Amber cries, but Barbara is already speed dialing. Her eyes are narrow, nostrils flared, harsh AIDS lines splintering the makeup. Her mouth is moving, rehearsing denunciations. When listening, she looks as if she's been slapped. Her gaze slides to her daughter. Amber, why are they telling me it's this or suspension? Amber, look at me. The guidance counselor knew I would call. She has changed her outgoing message. It's all lies, Mama. They have it in for me, I swear. Barbara regards her daughter coldly, but then a cloud passes across her face and slowly her lips twist into a sneer. We'll see what your father has to say, and she guns the Suburban, tearing out of the pickup zone. Inside Arturo's, a lush Tuscan eatery, the voodoo drums erupt from the speaker on Robert Elliott's cell phone. He reads the text out loud. Hope the three of you have a lovely weekend. God damn, how did she know, he says. When he asks the woman at the table whether he should respond, she lays her hand on his arm. No, because it's discoverable, she says. A minute passes before Robert asks, did you hear that? Hear what, Naomi asks. 2 beeps of a horn is all I get. No contact. When Giovanni tries to lead Amber to the table, the girl hesitates. Against this background, she seems smaller, more childlike, her face wan, the legs so painfully thin. Distracted by the waiter, her father doesn't see the girl struggle, but Naomi does. She watches Amber take in the third table setting, watches her lift her eyes to take in Naomi. In that moment, Naomi sees the girl's defenses shatter, sees the look of panic underneath, the sudden vertigo and uncertainty, the pinched terrors of being 14 and lost. It only lasts the briefest second before Amber disappears behind her armor, letting the kipling tumble to the floor. Robert has seen his daughter now and holds his arms wide for a hug that Amber will evade. Hey, he says, if it just occurred to him, this is my friend Naomi. Am I supposed to remember her name, Amber asks, not looking at Naomi. Hi, Amber. I've heard a lot about you, Naomi says. That's funny, Amber says, because until just now, I didn't even know you existed. Bob, did you hear that? Sorry? Amber, would you have preferred being told about me before we met? But it's too late. The girl has disappeared, leaving behind a face that seems uninhabited. Then the baby goes off. Everyone looks at each other, but no one does anything. That is until the sound builds. Soon it is unavoidable. The baby rages, shrieking with such piercing desperation that the entire restaurant falls silent. What the hell is that? When hopping up and down and rocking don't work, Amber throws the baby on the tablecloth and roots around in the kipling. Word is spread that it's a doll and people are standing to get a better look. Amber pulls out a bag of white Similac powder, shoveling the powder into the baby's maw. When this fails, she upends the baby and rips the diaper off like she's field dressing a small animal. She feels around in the kipling for a replacement, finds one and bites at it with the Velcro, bites the Velcro with her teeth. Normal baby seems to scream louder. Signore Bob, Giovanni gestures to the other diners. Don't you have a freezer in the back, someplace we can't hear it? Dad, Amber roars. The baby stays with me. Can I, Naomi asks, and Amber steps away, face rigid with shame. Naomi clutches the baby against her shoulder, rubbing its back, closing her eyes and humming. What has happened to Naomi? Ever since the girl's arrival, she's been dissociative, spellbound. Perhaps she has entered that condition of evenly suspended attention, the one Freud describes with uncharacteristic tenderness, of consisting of a moment in which the unconscious of one person turns like a receptive organ to the transmitting unconscious of another. The baby, due to Naomi's efforts, has begun to downshift, and Naomi opens her eyes to stare at the girl. Her face is peacefully composed, as if she's now entering a clearing, a state of grace where the eye suddenly lets in more light, and the caustic deformations of thought and judgment fall away, allowing the emergence of dreams and hidden memories. The past and present mix freely. She begins to glimpse scenes, a woman outside a bus, a soldier mounting steps, half turning, her sister joking about a chemotan, her niece looking up with the expression of grieving bewilderment that's not unlike Amber's when she first arrived. These are remnants not just of her life, but of her mother's and even of her grandmother's. Like anyone, Naomi has felt herself at times to be living a borrowed life, where the important events are not original but strangely compelled reenactments, and she has felt herself defined by what she doesn't understand. It comes back to the girl. The girl is some instrument to move these recurrent mysteries towards greater clarity, to help her assemble the deeper patterns of her life. At this moment, she decides that no matter what, she will take Amber home. even if she has to kidnap her. Thank you.